You're listening to the Esoterics Podcast.
Hi, everyone. This is Fioraliz.
And I am Jo. Welcome back to the Esoterics Podcast. Hi,
Hey, Jo.
how are you this week?
I'm excellent. Enjoying this
Excellent.
2 energy on the Tuesday that we're recording today.
That's right. We are recording on 2/22/2022.
Yes. Uh,
Did anything cool happen to you today?
Nothing cool happened to me. I just I know because I'm I'm in a couple Facebook groups and just looking at stuff on Instagram, and people were asking like, what are you gonna do for Tuesday and
Right.
all this and I had enough going on between like trying to plan a birthday party and then we're still like shopping for a house and doing all this stuff, like all these things that I'm doing. I'm like, I don't have time for like an elaborate thing.
Mm-mm.
Also I need to work, I go to the gym, like it's a lot. I don't being an adult is
I don't
hard.
have time for you 2/22.
No. So I was like, but I want to do a thing. I want to do something. So I did do a bath. So I did my mom has a really beautiful rue plant in the backyard, so I had her cut it cuz rue is very temperamental. If you have your own rue plant, like nobody else can touch it, cuz if somebody else comes and like have a
Really?
piece, yeah, it gets mad and it'll just dry up. Yeah, it is temperamental.
Ooh.
So anyway, so I had her
Oh my
cut me a few cuttings a few days ago, and so I did that, rue, cinnamon, and eucalyptus. I just did 3 things. I was trying to keep it simple, boiled it down, and then I I took my shower real quick, cleaned my tub, and then like filled up with water, went and got it all set up and did my bath. And like, so rue is for protection and cinnamon is for prosperity and eucalyptus is for cleansing. So
That sounds witchy.
it is.
Yes, it was a witchy. You did a witchy ritual, and you did some card pulls for the group.
I did. I wanted to go live. I
Mhm.
wanted to do a whole live thing, but again, like I'm limited on time. And so,
Right.
and I figured, and this way everyone can participate, everyone that wants to can participate
Yeah.
without having to be stuck to a time or whatever. So yeah, I felt like
Yeah.
that was a better option.
Well, I appreciated it because when I got settled and home from work and everything, and I opened it up, or maybe this was at work, I don't remember,
Uh-huh.
but I picked one,
Uh-huh.
and I knew that I wanted the watermelon tourmaline before and then the card, and I was like, oh, the card was perfect. So
It was. Yeah, you got Anna.
yeah,
Yeah.
Anna. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't pick a card for myself, but I felt like every time when I was like reading out the information, I was like, it spoke
Mhm.
to me really in a really deep way. I really love those cards. I really like that deck. The deck that I use, the Work Your Light Oracle cards by Rebecca Campbell.
Rebecca Campbell. Yeah, she's got a couple decks.
She does have a
out.
few. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the Work Your Light
Yeah.
is, I think that's my favorite one that I've gotten to use so far.
I don't have any of her decks. It's not that I don't want to. I think I'm just super happy with my decks right now. So when I'm feeling the pull to get a new Oracle deck, we'll see what shows up.
I got a new one. I showed it to you. I don't even remember what it's called. Anyway, I'll probably cut that apart out. Anyway, so before we get started with today, what announcements do we have?
Oh no, I have an announcement.
Oh.
I have a ghost in my suite at work.
What?
Swear to God, right? Okay. Listen, this is such a fucking cool story. All right. But listen, it's also a really good lesson about trusting yourself because that doubt, it happens to us all. No matter how long you've been a practicing medium or whatever. All right. So I'm talking to the chef instructor about my mediumship abilities the other day, and we hear a noise in the photography studio, which is just the studio is huge and it's broken up into like 3 different sections. It's just huge. Anyway, so, we hear this noise and he was on his way out. So he was like, time to go. Just left me in the studio by myself. But I wasn't scared. I was like, whatever.
Yeah.
All right. So a little bit later, I heard another noise. And so I went over there to investigate, right? And then nothing looked out of place. So I said, all right, if there is a spirit in here, do you want to tell me something? What's going on? Like, you're not going to scare me. So you might as well just let me know what's going on.
Yeah.
And in my mind's eye, I saw a man. He had bib overalls on, and he told me his name was Jeremiah. And I was like, hey, Jeremiah, what's going on? Why are you hanging out in this building? Dude, why are you hanging out in this building?
Yeah.
And he said he was a farmer.
Oh.
And so I was like, well, do you have a message? And then at that point, I got complete apathy. He's like, I don't really want to talk to you, right? He's like, I just answered your question. He's like, I don't really have anything to say. It was hilarious. And I'm like, all right, dude, peace out, right? That's it. He's like, that's all he's got. I was just passing through. I don't have time for your questions. Peace out.
All right.
All right. So then I started thinking, like, why the hell is a farmer showing up in the middle of downtown, like urban Portland? And so, of course, then I start to doubt myself. I'm like, maybe it wasn't. So I start to do a building. I wanted to know what was the original building.
Oh, yeah.
What was it used for? That sort of thing.
Yeah.
Well, I kept getting like realty reports, right? Seller reports or whatever. It tells you who owns the building and that sort of thing. So I was bored. I'm like, ugh, that's boring. So I had to go downstairs a little bit later to the mailroom, and I saw the building manager. And I said, hey, what do you know about this building's history? You guys, I'm not kidding you. She said the original business was the John Deere Plow Company. And she said, if you go outside, you can see it over the door. And sure enough, it was over the door. But looking back, I remember wondering because I've been there like 2.5 weeks, but there's all these wondering why the fuck the hallway was plastered with all these pictures of freaking tractors, right? Seriously, because unless Kenny motherfucking Chesney is half naked and driving one, I am uninterested in tractors. Like, right? Yeah, no, I don't. So anyway, so that was the story. So Jeremiah was a very ambivalent spirit who just made some noise. And then when I was like, dude, why are you making noise? He was like kind of annoyed, like, I'm just passing through.
Wow.
So anyway, yeah. Yep. So my suite is haunted, which is fine. I don't care.
But he doesn't seem to be like, he seems like a pretty nonchalant ghost.
He literally does not care. And honestly, I don't think he's shown up since. We didn't have any problems. Now Friday, so it was a couple days later, I was there by myself, but I had taken Hollis with me, and he was laying in the sun, and then he just all of a sudden perked up and started looking over towards the studio, and I'm just like, there you go. And I was like, hey, no, Jeremiah, don't even think about messing with my dog or scaring him or whatever. And he didn't say anything. He didn't appear in my mind's eye. And then Hollis sort of like sniffed the air, and then he like went back to his nap. So I was like, once again, Jeremiah was like, peace out.
Peace. I don't want anything to do with this dog either.
Right. So, so I'm gonna keep track of all of the any spooky stories, but definitely I'll let everybody know here when stuff happens in the building.
Yeah.
It's a super, super old building.
What, do you know how old it is exactly, or an idea?
1916, I believe.
Okay.
So over 100 years old.
So we went to an open house this last weekend. Because, okay, so in downtown Riverside, there's a row of old houses, like it's called the historic district. So everything is like minimum 100 years old. So anytime I see an open house on that street, you bet I'm going to go in there. Any chance I get to go into
Right.
an old house, I'm going to take
Mm-hmm.
it. So, and it was a beautiful craftsman, 2-story craftsman, and it was built in like
Yes.
1907. So, like before cars.
Yeah.
It still had
Mm-hmm.
its own original hitching post in the front, for the
Nice.
horse carriage and all that.
For the horses.
And oh my god, it was incredible, the woodwork inside and the creaky
Mm-hmm.
stairs, and yeah, it
Yes.
was really beautifully taken care of. But even just sitting there, I was like, you never live in a house like this alone. Like, you're never alone.
Thank you, because right here's the problem with those craftsman houses is those staircases that go up like 3 flights, or they go up
Hmm.
3 stairs and then they curve to the hard
Hmm.
to the right. Well, you can't see what's coming at you around those corners, and the movies always have some banshee looking freak coming down those stairs after you. No, thank you.
Yeah. So as beautiful as the house is, and first of all, it's way out of my budget, but yeah, no. Thanks, but no thanks. I don't want to live with ghosts like that.
I right. I mean, and people are, they're fearful. They're like, oh, there's a ghost, like because the chef was like, well, don't tell, I don't want to say his name. My
Yeah.
my boss, he's like, don't tell so and so
Yeah.
because
Hmm.
and I'm like, why? Because he's like, well, he won't have anything to do with it. And I'm like, and I said to my boss, I'm like, do you know you hired a medium, right? He's like, ugh, he's like, I don't even want to know. I don't even want to know. Don't talk about it.
Don't tell me.
Right?
Oh.
So, so I'm like, all right, it's good fun to be had with that.
Yep, yep, yep. Fun with ghosts.
Okay. Announcement. So we still have some retreat spots available. And so what I want to encourage everybody is to use that tax money, put a down payment on your spot, and come hang out with the Esoterics girls in May on Lake Michigan. Just join us, right? Because you'll learn how to deepen your intuitive practice and connect with your higher self. We're going to use Akashic energy. I'm going to teach you how to tap into that. Fioraliz will teach you how to tap into it. She knows as well. This amazing weekend, it takes place May 27th through 29th in West Olive, and it's just $888 for 3 days, right? And 2 nights of nothing but woo, meditation, relaxation, and spiritual connection. We have a payment plan, so you don't have to fork over the whole amount in one payment. You can take your time. And hey, if you want to save a few bucks, you can join us as a commuter, because that is a cost of just $555. So if you're able to commute, this one will save you a nice chunk of change while still experiencing everything offered the entire weekend except the lodging. Okay. And then what is offered, you ask? Well, it includes intuitive development, shamanic breath work. That's Fioraliz is gonna teach that. We're gonna have some meditations, or at least one on the beach. We're gonna have some fun workshops, some integration circles, some akashic readings, some energy work. Opportunities to bond, create, socialize, spend time in nature, and just simply relax.
Yes. So
What
join
else can you
us.
think of that we're gonna be doing that I haven't mentioned?
I think definitely the opportunity to just share space with people that are into stuff with like you. I think that's like just in itself is a huge plus and a huge selling point in my book. Um,
Right. In a beautiful
yeah,
space,
beautiful
and
space to be
in a
yourself.
beautiful, yes, it'll be fun. It'll be really fun. So um if you're interested, go to the esoterics, what is it, esotericspodcast.com,
Yes.
and fill out the interest form, and we'll get the process started for you.
Yes. Go, go, go. And I just want to mention, before we get started with today's episode, if you do enjoy this episode or any of our episodes, please share with your friends and followers on social. It's a
Yes.
big deal to us, and it really does help us grow and share our podcast with as many people as possible. And it's really easy.
Yes.
It's just as quick as
Yeah.
sharing one of our posts or sharing a link from your favorite podcast app. Just don't forget to tag us so we can, share it, reshare it again. We love to see your posts.
And respond and put hearts and say thank you.
Yeah.
Right? That's important.
Exactly. Exactly. All right. What are we talking about today, Jo?
Today, we are diving into part 1 of a 2-part series, Fakes, Crystals, Psychics, and Scams. So we're going to talk about all those things. And I want to give a shout out to the two who suggested this topic, Carrie and Tish, both members of our esoterics community on Facebook. So if you're listening, thank you for the inspiration, ladies. It was a fun couple of episodes to research and write and, just have fun with it. So
Awesome.
thank you. Okay, so let's get into part 1. We're going to focus on fake crystals, okay? But that's not really. We're going to focus on a bunch of different aspects of that, okay? So right now I want to talk about authentic crystals versus enhanced crystals.
Okay.
Because there are also glass, plastic, man-made, lab-grown stones, all of that. Those are different types of crystals. All right, so first, what is an enhanced crystal? All right. So an enhancement is something that the crystals go through to get to you. Okay. Most, if not all of them, undergo some sort of treatment between coming out of the ground and then when you see them all beautiful, on the shop shelf. So the most common practices include cleaning, and that's anything from pressure sprayers to acid baths.
Okay.
They can be shaped, which can involve cutting, sanding, tumbling, those polished stones.
Yeah.
Even corrosive materials, which I don't know. And then stabilizing, and you can do that with an acid dip to a stone sealant. A lot of turquoise is very, very fragile. Like legit turquoise is very fragile. So jewelers, or I'm sorry, lapidary artists will stabilize it with something. They'll glue it to the back of it, and so that just helps the stone not, so that it can be used in jewelry and stuff.
Okay, yeah, we do that with travertine.
Ah, right. Yeah. What do you stabilize it with?
Well, you fill it with grout, like because there's a lot of pits and veins and stuff in it. Yeah, but yeah, you generally fill it with fill all those little indents and stuff because it's fragile and it's full of stuff.
Well, yeah, and lapidary artists, jewelers, and kitchen designers, one of the primary components are stone, right? For tile and backsplash and all that stuff.
Yep.
Making the two connections. Yeah. All right, so let's talk about softening the edges. The mining company removes calcite from the ground, then it breaks it up into small rough pieces. So before they sell it to shops where you can buy it, they sometimes dip the calcite in an acid bath to soften the sharp edges. And as I will mention later, calcite sometimes feels waxy. So if you have a piece of calcite, you'll notice that it does feel a little bit waxy. You have a big piece there. Does it feel a little bit waxy?
That's what. Oh yeah, it feels like when I first got it, I thought it was fake because I was like, "Is this?" It feels odd. Yeah. Oh, interesting.
Yep. Nope. But calcite is typically the only stone that feels waxy. That's the only one that I've come across. But because it's been dipped in an acid bath, because those sharp edges, untreated calcite, it'll cut you. So it's just safer to handle, and
makes sense.
Now spirit quartz, and I don't specifically have any spirit quartz, and I've never worked with it. And quartz, of course, is just quartz is like an umbrella term, which I'll talk about in a minute. But when spirit quartz comes out of the ground, it's covered in this really thick, hard clay and some iron, and it requires high pressure cleaning and like the series of chemical baths to get it pretty. So, again, these are all enhancements, and I'm going to go through a bunch of them so that plus it's just interesting.
Yeah.
Sealing in the goodness. So a mine or wholesaler will treat soft stones that have a tendency to crack, flake, or crumble with a sealant to hold the stone together and bring out its color, kind of like you were talking with travertine. Yes. As a customer, you're getting a more stable product that isn't going to flake and fall apart on you. So applying a clear sealant to like a low grade Amazonite, for example, will bring out a much more vibrant color.
Okay.
Okay.
Makes sense.
So they're not, the stone is, it's a real stone. It's the miner or the wholesaler is just making them more sellable, which we'll talk about why that's a good thing,
Yeah.
actually. Which so why that's a good thing is because this practice falls into ethical sourcing, and it helps miners who are exploited, because a lot of these mines are located in like third world countries. So these miners can work for months, only to find low quality stone, and they're not going to get any money for it.
Yeah.
So these organizations or these wholesalers who are focused on ethically sourced crystals are supporting these miners by buying both the lower quality and the high quality stone, because they're willing to spend a little bit of extra time on enhancing those
Sure.
lower quality crystals to make them more marketable. So the miners get paid better, right?
Cool. Okay.
And so it also means that customers, we have an option to buy the more affordable, lower grade stones. And we're going to talk about grading also. But as long as you're buying from a reputable seller, you're going to see the pricing and grading difference in these gems.
Yeah.
Okay. All of this is leading to you to be more knowledgeable in avoiding those fake stones.
Yeah. But mining companies and all that has just been so detrimental to a lot of communities around the world.
Yes. And so that's why it's so important for, to work with wholesalers and mining companies who are, ethical. They just can't keep doing these crazy practices.
Yeah, fuck De Beers.
Right. Right. They have a dumb name anyway. Other than Beers, that's a good name. All right. So basically, the more you know, the easier it is to spot a fake, right? So here's a way that what you can do. The questions to ask in any stone purchase, no matter where you are, specifically those high dollar purchases, that help you determine if a stone is legit. Okay. There's like 5 questions.
Okay.
And so it's basically, did the finished product form naturally in the earth?
Okay.
Okay. Is it natural, like a crystal mineral element, or is it synthetic, like glass, plastic, resin, whatever?
Okay.
Is it imitating something else that occurs naturally? Basically, is it pretending to be something it's not? And then is it a natural crystal that it's been enhanced and sold, or is it being sold under a different name? And of course, you don't have to memorize all these. These are just really good questions to ask, and I can post these. I'll post these in the socials when the episode drops. And then also, does its name give you any information? Okay, so take for instance aura quartz. Everybody, what aura quartz is it's clear quartz that's covered in like this metallic, I forget what it is. There's a specific
I thought it was
name for
titanium. No, is it like a titanium wash?
Yes. And they call it aura quartz. So it's not technically pretending to be something it's not, and it is legit quartz, but it's not man-made, or it is man-made. It's not naturally occurring.
Yeah.
So let's talk about crystal grading now. There's no universal grading system on crystals, but in certain circles like jewelry and lapidary and all of that, crystals are graded based on their quality, color, cut, and clarity, similar to diamonds. Okay.
Yeah.
So grading is assigned a letter. It's AAA is the highest grade, and it goes all the way down to D. So if I have the option, I always buy the AAA crystals. Why? Because what's the difference? Because if you see a super shiny, smooth surface on a crystal, that's a triple grade A. But then you see others that are a little bit more dull, that have like little like surface cracks on them, or they're a little bit more matte. They have more of a matte finish, or they have little dips in them. It doesn't mean it's a bad crystal. It's just it hasn't been. The work hasn't gone into polishing it to, a triple grade A. So it's going to cost less.
Sure. Okay.
So does it matter? Does grading matter? Okay. Yes, it matters if you're an avid collector or a hardcore collector, if you're an investor, if you're a crystal business owner, or if you're a jewelry designer like moi, yes, it matters. Grading matters. It does. But it doesn't matter. It does not matter one goddamn thing if you're using crystals for healing or meditation. If you're just starting out and you're learning about crystals, or if you see this new crystal and you'd like to try it, right? Remember when I was looking all over the interwebs for Numite, like legit
Yes.
Numite? Yes, well, it was all really, really expensive. I mean, the stone I got was like $100. I've never spent that much on a stone before. But they just didn't have low quality Numite, because Numite is like a very rare, very expensive stone. And those are all triple grade A. Because I looked for like, a grade like B or C. You just can't find them. Okay, let's talk about stone characteristics. I'm getting to the good stuff, guys, but I wanted to provide this foundation here. All right, so temperature. Is the stone, is it warm or is it cold?
Yes.
So pick up one of your crystals. Yes, because crystals should be cool to the touch even on a really hot day.
Yeah.
Glass, plastic, and other man-made materials that have been made to resemble quartz, they'll typically feel room temperature.
Yeah. And
so that's one way.
When they're not on your skin. Like once you put them on your skin, they like pick up your
Yes.
because I have this,
because they're conductors, they're oscillators.
Yeah, I have this really beautiful I think it's a amazonite necklace. So the different stones and different colorings that I got in Hawaii, and I don't like to put it on when it's, because it's cold. Like it shocks me
because it's cold.
Yeah, because it's really cold. So yeah, I have to like warm it up with my hands first and then put it on. Yeah. Yeah, but that one's a really great tip when you're shopping. Yeah.
It's so good. It's so good. I mean, that's probably the easiest one, right? Is if it's cold, then it's a crystal. If it's not, structure. Okay, so if a crystal is super clear like glass, it's probably fake. Okay.
Oh.
Anything that looks that clear is generally synthetic. And remember, there are always exceptions to every rule. Very high quality pieces can have almost perfect clarity, but those are going to be much, much higher in price.
Okay.
Glass is very consistent. It's smooth, and it's a smooth, consistent material, whereas quartz contains like waves, lines, cracks, flecks.
Yeah.
And if it looks too perfect in its formation, if there's no, like if you have clusters, like Fiora, I know you love clusters.
Yes.
And so it, sometimes those clusters, they're not consistent, right? You might have a broken tiny little tip or whatever, missing points. But if they look too perfect, they're probably synthetic or fake.
Yeah.
And the color. If the color is perfectly uniform with no other minerals in the structure, it's probably synthetic or glass.
Yeah, like have you seen those? Like I think it's marketed as onyx coasters. Have you seen? They're like bright purple or bright blue. It's not like, I don't know what it is, but it's synthetic material. It's made out of resin. That's what it is. But they're made to look like a stone, but they're not. It's made out of resin. That's what it is. But they're super bright colors.
Lies.
Yep.
Did you pick it up in the store and scream lies and then throw it down?
I think they sell it at like the 99-cent store now.
Oh, that'd be the best place to do it. Nobody would even think twice, right?
We used to sell, slabs of onyx, of actual onyx.
Actual onyx.
Yeah. It's like, oh God, like $1,400 a square foot.
Oh my God. Onyx is one of my favorite stones. I love onyx. I have blue onyx and black onyx, and we'll talk blue onyx. Blue onyx is dyed. It's onyx that is dyed. And I talk about dyed stones later, but it is what it is.
Yep.
Another way to tell the difference between quartz and glass is magnification. So if you put your crystal over like a words in a book, glass is going to magnify those words, and an authentic crystal will not magnify them.
Oh,
that's another way. Yep. Texture. texture is an indication that a piece is fake. Fakes can appear fuzzy, especially with crystal formations. Fakes they look fuzzy, and fuzzy is not a natural formation. Crystals are they're crystalline in structure.
Mm-hmm.
They're not fuzzy.
Mm-hmm.
You can also tell that the faces of the points or the facets of the points, if they're not flat and glassy like real quartz, some of those, they just have this. I love like my Herkimer has the most amazing, like, flat glassy, like, see that, how flat that is, and it's, I
Uh-huh.
love rubbing my finger over it. It's perfect, and that's natural. So real quartz is flat and glassy, but some of those more synthetics are like uneven, and they look rough, and you can also tell if they all look identical,
Mm.
all
Yeah.
of those points with no inclusions or no anything like that. So
Yeah.
it's, if they look too perfect, yeah.
Sus.
I talked about calcite, that it's going to feel a little bit waxy, so
Yeah.
that's a good one. All right, and I thought of you when I looking at the next one. Price is a really good way to tell, but there's a reason. You'll find out. So if the price seems too good to be true, it probably is. All
Mm.
right, so it should be highly sus. So a 6-inch quartz cluster in perfect condition is never going to be $20. It's just not.
Yeah.
The rare exceptions, and this is when I thought of you, are rock shows in places like Quartzsite, Tucson, and Mexico, because you've come away with some amazing stones for like very little money.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, well,
But
that's the exception.
yeah, you just also what has helped me is to kind of take into account by just like looking a lot, not necessarily buying a lot, but just looking a lot and be like, okay, now have an idea of like how much an amethyst cluster costs, or whatever.
Right.
And then you'll start to see like, okay, I've seen this somewhere, they had it for about this price, and so then you're getting a good price at that point.
Yes.
Takes a while.
Well, especially, in those places, the competition for crystals is really high, inventory is abundant,
Mhm.
so you're going to get better deals there. But for the most part, crystal vendors, they're going to get top dollar for those more spectacular formations. They just are.
Yep.
They're not going to let that shit go for $20.
Mhm.
All right, so those are some of the things that you can look at that will help you determine if a crystal is real or synthetic or fake or whatever. Now, as I talked about earlier, there are dyed and man-made crystals. So I typically don't use dyed or man-made crystals in my jewelry.
Uh-huh.
But now and again I'll fall in love with one, but I just make sure that I'm upfront with, everyone about it, my customer or whatever. Man-made stones like fordite, which is I love fordite. So in the car companies, specifically Ford, when they run their cars along the assembly line, they run them through these paint machines,
Mhm.
and then the paint machines on the sides, the layers of paint will build up over time, and so then the assembly workers or the worker has to go in, chip it off, and it's these giant chunks of all of these different layers of paint. Well, they sell those to lapidary artists, and then lapidary artists will turn them into like cabochons.
Mhm.
And they're freaking cool because they're like they're like agates on steroids. They're cool as hell. I have a couple different fordite pieces that I haven't used yet because I'm waiting for the perfect. So goldstone is another one. Fordite and goldstone, they absolutely deserve a place in your crystal collection. So you have to choose what feels right to you. There's nothing wrong with man-made crystals.
Yeah.
They still have energy. Glass has its own specific energy. But as a rule, I'm just not drawn to those to make jewelry.
Yeah. And I love obsidian, and obsidian is
Yeah.
technically glass.
Well, it's volcanic glass.
Yeah. But it's glass. But I love it.
I love obsidian
Yeah.
too. I do. Um, I just had a rainbow obsidian that I made into a pendant. It's so pretty.
Yeah.
Okay, so when trying to determine if a crystal has been dyed or not, there's things you can look at. So look at the surface of the crystal, and look at any cracks or marks within it. Usually, if they have been dyed, there's going to be a buildup of color in those cracks. So there's a couple things that you can do to test a stone. You're going to want to do it on like a spot that isn't as noticeable, where you're not going to want to do it right in the middle of the stone unless you don't care about the stone. But you can try rubbing it with a damp cloth to see if any of the dye comes off. Or you can try nail polish remover, or you can actually scrape the surface of it to see. And if it comes off, it's a dyed stone.
I've heard of the nail polish remover before. That one's good.
Yeah. I mean, even if you just take a little bit of a Q-tip or whatever, but I
Exactly.
definitely wouldn't do it in the middle of the stone.
Yeah.
Yeah. So goldstone is a man-made crystal with flecks of copper in it. Goldstone, there's blue goldstone, there's green goldstone.
Yeah.
Remember we saw green goldstone in Idlewild?
Yeah, which I'd never seen before.
And the dude said that there's even purple goldstone out there that he's trying to get his hands on. So, copper is a great conductor of energy. So goldstone, again, it has natural elements in it. So, and there's a legend around goldstone. Legend has it that it was first made by monks who accidentally knocked copper shavings into melted glass, hence goldstone. Which I don't know if it's true, but it's a cool story.
That's a cool story. Yeah. We'll take a nice origin story.
Cool story, bro. Right. All right. Real citrine, legit citrine is extremely rare. It's very expensive in its natural state. Most citrine on the market, as we know it, in your collection, my collection, is simply heat treated amethyst. So what they do is they take this amethyst and they place it in a kiln and they bake it until it changes that beautiful golden color of citrine. That's all citrine is. It's just amethyst. But real citrine apparently is very rare. Real turquoise is also very rare and very expensive. And I belong to several lapidary groups, and they'll sell a cabochon for like $100. I mean, it's serious. But here's where it's going to help you save yourself a buck if you're in the market for real turquoise. Be very aware of howlite that is dyed blue, because when howlite is dyed blue, it can look identical, very much like real turquoise.
Yeah. I just bought red dyed howlite, and I didn't even realize that it was.
Yes. I mean, howlite really is white, so you can dye it any color. It's beautiful. It's really beautiful. I love howlite. Undyed howlite, actually, and there's a stone called magnesite. They on the market are sold as white turquoise. So I'm not saying there's no such thing as white turquoise, but oh my god, if you came across legit white turquoise, it's going to be hundreds of dollars. So if you get a white turquoise tumbled stone at your local crystal store, that shit is not white turquoise, it's howlite.
Yeah, it's not going to be in a bin probably.
No, banging around with all the other turquoise. No. Oh my gosh, I love it. So when howlite is dyed and sold as turquoise, it's definitely a fake. All right, so don't, there's just no two ways about it. And again, it goes back to the questions that I asked in the beginning. Is it imitating something else of a far greater value? Is it pretending to be something it's not? Yes. So turquoise, just don't buy it at a crystal store unless it's very, very expensive and you're very well versed in how to tell the difference. I would go on Instagram. I follow this vendor called Turquoise Moose, and all they do is turquoise. And their stones are very affordable, but they are lapidary artists, and so they are cabochons, which means they're going to have flat backs. So if you're looking for like a tumbled stone, I'm sure there's tons of other, but when I buy turquoise, I only buy it from Turquoise Moose, just because I know it's legit.
Good to know.
Let's see what else. I think that's pretty much it. Just make sure you're buying turquoise from a reputable source. Okay. Melon. You've heard of these names for stones. Melon moonstone, strawberry quartz.
Yes.
Aura quartz. The kookier the name, the more likely the crystal is to be a quote unquote fake, right? Okay, so I'm saying quote unquote fake. Anything named after fruit.
So like my watermelon tourmaline?
No, watermelon tourmaline is actually legit. Yes.
Okay.
There's 2 types of tourmaline. There's actually 3 types. There's black tourmaline, pink tourmaline, and then there's the watermelon tourmaline.
Yeah.
And that watermelon tourmaline, I mean, that thing was probably expensive, yes?
It was $5.
Girl, that is, how big is it?
It
Girl, that
is.
is fake watermelon.
It is the size of. It's almost the size of my pinky.
Okay, that is fucking fake. Okay,
It's-
because I have a piece of watermelon tourmaline that's bigger. That's
It's
about the size of my
cold.
little pinky nail.
Uh-huh. You just said
No. No. My little tiny watermelon tourmaline slice that's the size of my pinky was like $20.
Jo, it's not my fault you got ripped off.
It's Oh my god, that's a good one, right? Okay, fine. Your thumb-sized watermelon tourmaline for $5 is real.
I got a bunch of crystals at this one store in the middle in Central California. It was like in Hollister, California or something. It was like a little shop in
Yeah.
a little rando town in California, or like Central California. And I went in there and everything was super cheap. And I was like, oh, I'm going to stock up because they had a lot of things in there. That's why I got a lot of my clusters because it was very inexpensive.
Right.
It really was.
All right. Listen, I'm not going to argue because I'm not right there and I can't hold it and see it. So I'm just going to take your word for it.
Okay. It's cold.
Oh,
I'll
that
let you
cracks
touch
me
me.
up.
I'll bring
All right.
it.
Okay, so back to the quartz, right? Okay, so those fruity, most legit sellers will equate a fruity name with glass or, dyed quartz. So they
Mhm.
typically stay away from those names. So if you come up against anything else, like I said, like cherry quartz, that sort of thing, strawberry quartz or whatever, it's just dyed quartz. That's all it is. It's not. There are some stones. There's like I think there's like a fire agate that's this gorgeous, like deep, like corally red. That's legit.
Mhm.
There's a couple deep, and like red jasper, that sort of thing. But
Mhm.
the jasper isn't quartz. So
Okay.
okay. Now let's talk about quartz. Because quartz, I think I mentioned this earlier, is actually an umbrella term that covers crystals and stones with the same chemical composition. Okay, so for example, quartz is amethyst, citrine, aventurine, rose quartz, smoky quartz, carnelian, chalcedony, and agate. Okay?
Mhm.
Agates are very often dyed.
Oh.
And so, if you have a red one or a pink one or a blue one, beautiful. And the stones are real, but they are dyed. I don't think there's anything wrong with dyed stones. As long as it looks good, I don't really care if it's dyed. If the stone is inexpensive and it has bands running through it, it's more than likely an agate.
Okay.
Now, if it's not some variation of natural earth colors like red, brown, yellow, white,
Mhm.
it's probably dyed. So if you have like I said, a pink agate, a blue agate, a purple agate, green agate, it's more than likely dyed.
Okay.
But again, some people are different. Like I tend to not use man-made crystals, but I don't have a problem with dyed crystals.
Mhm. It's still a crystal.
It's still a crystal. Yeah. I actually love dyed agate, actually. It makes a gorgeous piece of jewelry. It's incredibly durable because of its hardness. Okay, so fun fact, I'm going to throw in a fun fact. I throw in a couple throughout here. Fun fact, it's called the Mohs scale.
Mm-hmm.
The Mohs scale goes from 1 to 10, with 10 being the hardest diamond.
Yeah.
Quartz is a 7 and will scratch glass.
Uh-huh.
Fluorite is a 4 and a knife will scratch fluorite. And calcite is a 3 and a penny will scratch calcite.
Okay.
Okay. There's 1 and 2, like talc is like a 1.
Oh, okay. But it's like basically,
so
it's almost a powder.
Right. Yes. Let's see. Another commonly dyed crystal is amethyst.
Yeah.
So we see all these gorgeous amethyst clusters out there, especially those huge huge, like the big ones, like the size of a bowling ball. If you're getting those things for like 10 or $20, it's probably dyed.
What is it that they dye?
They dye like the actual amethyst, the stone, like the clusters.
But so my question, I don't know, I guess my question is it still an amethyst? They just made it like more purple? Is that what they're doing?
Well, no, they can color. So back in my store, when I had my studio in Michigan, I had a pomegranate amethyst in the window, and they took a high pigment pomegranate or red dye, and they used it to dye the stone. So it was an amethyst, but it was like this bright, juicy pomegranate color. It was gorgeous.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm not sure how they do that. I mean, I don't know if if they take the amethyst and then they turn it into citrine and then they dye it because it's easier for the dye to take to the lighter color. I have no idea. But sometimes they'll just enhance the amethyst with a purple dye and make a really vivid purple cluster.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Those large cathedral stones that people stand between, the amethysts, like the ones that they'll cut in half. Those suckers are typically about several $1,000s each. So if you ever want one in your house.
I do, but I'm gonna go to Quartzsite to get it.
You walk out of there, $20, and I swear to God, it's real. I'm like, dude, where'd you get that? And you're like, Quartzsite, $20. I'm like, all right,
okay.
Okay, another fun fact.
Yes.
Pure quartz is white or colorless, but it's also found in pretty much any color imaginable. In its natural state, right? So since quartz is naturally clear, any impurities allow that color to shine through. So like amethyst, tiger's eye, aventurine, and agates, they're all varieties of quartz with impurities from other elements, minerals, and that sort of stuff that within them to cause their very distinctive color.
Oh, like rutilated quartz with the little pieces of the black stuff in there, like the black, it's like organic matter that gets stuck in there.
Yes. Yeah, I still have mine that you gave me. I need to make something. I want to make a bracelet out of it.
Oh, that'd be cool. A cuff would be cool.
Yeah, because I already have a square necklace. So, I love that one. I always come across it. I'm like, I want to do something with it, but the perfect design will come to me. Okay. All right. Let's talk about how to avoid buying fake crystals, okay? I mean, there's just a couple things that I want to mention. So, a great way to reduce your chance of getting fake crystals as a beginner is to get crystals in their raw, natural form, right? Not tumbled. You're going to want to get clusters, or you're going to want to get them in their raw, natural form. And so this doesn't prevent you from buying crystals that have been color enhanced. You can be sure that you're not getting anything that is plastic, glass, or lab grown. And some of the crystals aren't very pretty, like the Amazonite that you brought to the retreat was gorgeous. I love my piece of Amazonite. I'm looking at it though the other day, and I was like, I think this might be a little bit color treated or color enhanced or whatever, but it's definitely not glass, plastic, or lab grown.
Yeah. It's cold.
It's cold. Yes, it is. I love my Amazonite crystal. Another way to avoid buying fake crystals is to purchase from a reputable seller, right? I've said that a couple times. And then another way is if you see a stone you've never heard of, give it a quick Google search to see what it's supposed to look like, what the standard cost is, and what the properties are, right? So if you just do a little research, you're going to feel a lot more empowered, and you're going to feel like you know what's going on and you know what to look for.
Yeah. That one should be pretty easy. And I really like Etsy as a good resource for looking stuff up. They have so many different types of things on there. And it's for prices specifically. Because sometimes you can see stuff on eBay, but like eBay can be sketchy. Like it could be fake on eBay. But yeah.
Yes, I mean, I love Etsy. I buy a ton of my stuff on Etsy. So there's this seller, it's called Beads by Heather, I think. I don't remember, but it's something like that. Now, the problem with Heather is not her prices, because her prices are amazing.
Mhm.
But Heather's gemstones are typically glass. So you have to be really, really, really careful. Like I've bought a couple things and I'm like, shit, man, that's glass. And I'll talk about that in a minute, where I went through my collection and I found 3 fakes of smoky quartz. We'll talk about it. But notice that I haven't mentioned labradorite or moonstone, sunstone, carnelian, malachite, like lepidolite,
Uh-huh.
sodalite, all of those
Uh-huh.
stones, those ites. These stones, the ite stones, are very difficult to fake in any believable way. So
Oh.
you're pretty safe when purchasing these crystals, but definitely you're still going to want to look them over carefully
Oh,
and make
cool.
sure that they're, not crappy and cracked and chipped and all that stuff.
Yeah, no, that's good to know that those are harder to fake, which makes sense. There's a lot like labradorite has so much depth to it, and the different
Yes,
levels of flash and stuff,
all
depending
the
on the angle you're
flash.
holding
Yeah.
it. Like, yeah, I don't see how you could fake that.
I really don't. Any of those flash stones,
Mhm.
they're just, it's impossible to fake a flash. Even the Numite. Now, the Numite does have flash in it, but
Mhm.
they still are able to fake that because it's a dark stone with white flecks. And if people don't know that Numite
Mm.
has a flash, they might not, because Numite is not a super popular stone because it's so expensive.
And I did look for Numite when I went to Quartzsite for you.
Yeah.
I did ask.
Well, but you remember you got me that pendulum? That pendulum is Numite.
And that pendulum, I got it like at the vendor from across the street when Quartzsite was still closed. And that was like her closeout stuff that she got from the vendors from last year. And I don't even think she knew
It,
what she was selling. Cause yeah,
no,
no.
no way did she, because that Numite pendulum, number one, that
Mhm.
would be minimum $50. It probably maybe even more, but it's got the Numite properties and it's got the flash. And I'm looking at that thing going, holy shit, this is a Numite pendulum.
That's so funny. And I don't think I paid more than $10 for that,
Mhm.
by the way.
Right? Like, see, that's why if you know what you're doing, you can, I'm not saying take advantage of these people, but you can bet your ass if I'm selling crystals, I'm going to know what the hell I have.
Exactly.
It's,
And they sell in
yeah,
bulk.
it's like when you go into a thrift store, and I'm always like looking in the jewelry, like somebody's going to let some real silver slide.
Mm.
Nobody lets any real silver slide.
Yeah. No, you're not gonna get lucky that way. But what I do now is because people give like beaded bracelets to the Goodwill all the time.
Yeah.
So that's what I do now
Yep.
is I go and I check the beads and and see if maybe there's some good beads in there, because sometimes you can get lucky that way.
Yes. Right. There's also, I love going into the jewelry, even if there's some fun costume jewelry. A lot of times, like I got a really beautiful tiger's eye. Tiger's eye isn't considered a super rare gemstone,
Mhm.
so a lot of times you'll find tiger's eye at like Goodwill and
Yeah.
stuff, and just pop it out of its crappy setting and reset it in sterling silver, and you've got a beautiful
Mhm.
piece. All right, so the last fun fact before I wrap it all up is that which hand do you hold your crystals in?
Oh.
Okay, when you hold your crystal, like in meditation. So it's a good tip for the best results. You're going to hold a crystal in each hand, which is going to allow that energy flow into your body and out, completing a circle. A circuit. Okay, so you're going to hold one crystal pointing outward with your right hand, right? Like here's my Herkiber, it's got a little bit of a point. I hold it outward. And then in my left hand, I'm going to hold my crystal pointing inward or toward my body. And so that, when you hold it like that, that's going to create that circuit. And it's really good for meditation. You can also do this if you're on the table getting Reiki or a massage or, whatever. It's just, and a lot of times too, you don't have to have the same crystal. You can have a crystal with the properties that you're trying to enhance within your own energetic field in your right hand.
Mm.
And then in your left hand, you're going to want like a quartz crystal, because quartz are amplifiers.
Oh. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do
A
that.
fun way to work with crystals. Yeah. It's very, very, very
I know
Very
you've
effective.
told me about doing something like that, doing that with moldavite and clear quartz. Was that clear quartz?
Well, moldavite and
That's what it
tanzanite.
was. Yes, that's
Um,
what it was.
I'll knock you on your ass. First time I held those two together, I lost my balance. I was like, "What the hell?" I haven't played with those in a long time.
I have a tiny piece of moldavite. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it.
Did you get it made into a piece of jewelry?
No, it's just chilling.
No,
It's
it's just, how big is it?
it's
Yep,
tiny.
it's a little baby one.
It's
You
a
got
little.
that from Curtis.
I did. It's tiny.
Yeah,
It's a little.
yeah, but that's how. The only reason that I have a bigger size one is because I worked at the crystal store at the time and I got an employee discount on it. That's the only reason. Because I was like, I'm not spending that kind of money. It's an ugly ass stone. It's green. It looks like it's ugly, but it's very powerful.
It looks like mold.
It does. Yes. All right, so I'm going to wrap all this up. So, when you begin your crystal journey, it can be really intimidating. There's so many crystals out there. So, it's again, it's a good idea to do your research, to Google, ask questions, ask, friends and shop owners and all that stuff. Listen, the vast majority of crystals on the market from crystal shops and small businesses are genuine and legit, right? These people aren't trying to rip you off. Most crystals are not easily faked. So don't let that stop you from buying something. If it's a high dollar, do your research, okay? And have fun with them and get them all out. After this episode, get all your crystals out. See if you have any fakes in your collection, any synthetic or man-made in your collection.
Yeah.
If you do, don't feel bad. As I said earlier, I recently identified 3 of my smoky quartz crystals as glass because of their perfect clarity, their shape, and I did the magnification test. It caused them to magnify underneath a book, and I was like, well, shit, my smoky quartz are fake.
Oh no.
So yeah, no way I'm going to get rid of them. I love them. They're beautiful, these beautiful brown glass. But if I ever make a piece of jewelry with them, I'll be very transparent about the stone being glass, and then I'll just assign a lower price point to it, which is fine because maybe somebody can afford that.
Yeah.
They can't afford it if it's true. And so, whatever. I could always make some for myself too. I don't care if I'm wearing glass.
Yep.
So learning is all a part of the journey. With crystals and with this knowledge, you're going to feel a lot more confident spending money on crystals no matter what the price range is. And you'll be able to more easily spot imposters. So hopefully this information was helpful and interesting, and it helps you feel a little bit more confident in, going in and buying crystals and not worrying about them being fake.
Yeah, this is great. This is more than just spotting fake crystals. This is just like a how to buy crystals and what to look for. And yeah, this is great. It was wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, you're very welcome. It was a fun episode to sort of get into. And you know me, I always got to cover all the basics. Can't just be one thing. It's got to be everything.
It was wonderful. It was very well rounded.
Oh, thank you. What do you got for the closing vibe?
I have a card pull, and I am using, let's see. Today I'm using the Soul's Journey Lesson cards by James Van Praagh.
Oh, James Van Praagh?
Yes.
Is that how you say his name? Praagh?
Praagh. I think it's 2 A's.
Praagh.
It's a log A sound. And I pulled the card of love. And it says, I commit.
Love.
Yeah, love. I commit to the practice of seeing the good in all things. And the message for this card is, you are love. It is your inherent vibration. The obstacles and challenges of the physical dimension attempt to trick you into thinking that there are other ways to view life, but there is only one way that is natural to your being, love. This card simply reminds you that your soul is made of God's pure divine vibrational force of love, and that you need to bring this awareness to bear on every aspect of your life and being. Love is a healing energy. All anxiety and drama cannot exist in the aura of love. Most souls have come back upon this earth to learn, accept, and utilize this harmonic force and to see its effect upon their lives. It is your time to remind others of the strength of their own power of God and assist them in knowing fully that love is the most powerful element in the universe. It builds, fortifies, and strengthens even the most lost person. When we live in the power of love, then and only then will we know truth. True love is a spiritual link between us and God. It will guide our footsteps through the conflicts of the material world and will cleanse our hearts of unwanted facets of the human personality.
I love that. That is so good. And we are in Pisces energy, right?
Yes.
Where we entered in there. So of course love comes up because Pisces is all about love and flow, and it's just a gentle
Yeah.
um,
We just
sign.
we just
Yeah,
had Valentine's
pieces.
Day and that.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, we probably should have done an origin. Next year, we're going to do an origin episode on the origin of Valentine's Day because it is bloody and it is gross and it's, yeah, but it's interesting.
I love that. I love that. We need a good origin episode.
Yeah.
Anyway, we haven't done one since like Halloween, I
Yeah.
don't think, right?
Yeah. So next year. Next year.
Yeah.
That's what I'll put on the
Mm-hmm.
calendar.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Okay, well, you can find us on all the socials under Esoterics Podcast, and be sure to join our Facebook community, the Esoterics Community, to hear firsthand about our services, events, and courses, as well as get intuitive development tips, card pulls, free meditations, and a lot more.
Thank you, beautiful humans, for sharing space with us today. Stay mystical, magical, and ready to do it again next week.
See you next week.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.